Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video to share with you today. I am working in my New Testament spiral bound Bible. This is from Crossway, and this is an ESV version. The verse that I'm going to read to you, I'm actually going to read in King James. I am focusing today on Hebrews 6, verse 18 and 19, which says that by two immutable things in which it was impossible for God to lie, we might have a strong consolation who have fled for refuge to lay hold upon the hope set before us, which hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, and which entereth into that within the veil. And then it's talking about Jesus, obviously. And so what you see me doing here on camera, I am using one of the new stamps from Creative Worship Stamps. This is from the July release. This stamp is called Sketched Leaves Background. It's like a 4x4 stamp. And I have stamped that in Shabby Shutters Distress Oxide. And I'm coming in with some Distress embossing glazes in Crushed Olive, Bundled Sage, and Mowed Lawn. I'm just pinching little bits of color on there. I'm also doing a little bit of clear as well because I want that clear to kind of trap some of the Shabby Shutters color that's in there. And so then I just kind of brushed some of that excess powder out of the way so that I could re-stamp this stamp. And I'm going to do this a couple of times going down the page for my background. It does kind of line up if you are a little bit more talented than I am. I did get it a little bit wonky, but I think it will be okay. In this section where that join is actually gets covered up anyway, so you won't even notice. And then when I got down to the bottom, I also just re-stamped it again. So I ended up 3 stamps down to cover the this whole page. And then I'm just going to tap off all of the excess embossing powder there and then heat set that with my heat tool. And it's really hard to see on camera, but it really does capture all of the different colors of the glazes. And that's one of the things I love about the embossing glazes because they're translucent. So you still get some of the color that you stamped with underneath it. And then it just adds some dimension. And so I wanted to add even more dimension, and I thought I would just go through and watercolor these leaves. And I pulled out my distress crayons in Peeled Paint, Mowed Lawn, Bundled Sage, and Rustic Wilderness, and I thought, let me just start, coloring these in. And I started with one of the colors, and I didn't like it, and then I was like, well, let me see if I can fix it, and I added some other colors, and then I just liked it less and less with every layer, so I tried to pull up some of the color. You kind of have to be careful on Bible pages because it can pill and stuff, so I didn't want to work it too hard. I will just cover it up. I decided I'm not going to be coloring those in or adding any color, so I will just leave that one leaf like it is for now. I did add a little bit of water to those crayons, and I'm just going to splatter the colors around just for a little bit more interest in the background. And I will, like I said, cover up that leaf eventually. So the verse that I'm focusing on here in Hebrews, I am highlighting this with some Bundled Sage Distress Crayon, just very, very lightly, going over that with some water as well. And now I'm moving on to this vintage music paper. This is stuff that I have in my stash. I sell it in my shop, which is called chosenandcrafting.com. If you haven't been over there, I have antique and vintage papers for sale. And this is some music paper, and I really just wanted to keep sort of the interest on it because I'm going to use a die cut for this, and I just added a bunch of different greens here with those same crayons, added some water, just wanted a lot of kind of variation in the die that I'm going to be using, which is called Lovely Wreaths. This is a new release, this part of the new release from Creative Worship Stamps as well. So I made sure to dry this really, really well before I sent this through my die cut machine. And this is the die that I'm going to be using. There's actually 2 dies in this set, and I just cut the same one out twice, and I'm sorry I lost the footage for that. And then I pulled out a really old Creative Worship stamp. This is I think it's called wood backgrounds, and I love this like woodcut piece. So I stamped this onto some coffee dyed paper. I used the Distress Oxide ink in Scorched Timber, so I'd have a really nice brown, and then I just fussy cut that out, and this is going to serve as the focal point for my page and also hold my title. And so I'm stamping an anchor on here. I'm using some stamps that were released last month, actually. This is the print script stamp set. This is both the upper and lowercase set that I'm using. And I kind of got a little bit off center with my title. I should have started a little bit further, but it's kind of hard to get everything in there. Here you can see these wreaths that I have cut, and I'm just going to have these kind of layered back behind this woodcut piece. And then I also have these little foliage pieces. This is from also another stamp set that released this month, which is called the Thoughtful Wreaths, and there's a matching or coordinating die set for these as well. So I stamped these in a bunch of distress oxide inks, shabby shutters, crushed olive, peeled paint, forest moss, just a bunch of different colors. I used the same two stamps, and I just colored or stamped them in different colors and cut them out with those dies. And then I just kind of layered them and trying to get an idea for how I wanted this. Right now, I know that I want some of them kind of coming up over that bottom section. And then I'll fiddle with the top section again here in a little bit. But I want to finish sort of my title, which is just going to say sure and steadfast. And so using the lowercase stamps now for this, and I'm just going to stamp these out, and I will trim this down again, stamping on coffee dyed paper here. This way I don't have to worry about, fighting white, especially because my Bible page isn't bright white. And so it just made it easy to kind of stamp on this coffee dyed paper. And the lowercase stamp set actually has some small words in it, and was one of those, so I was able to just stamp that. And now I'm going to kind of go back to my focal point here and really try to decide how I want to layer in all of these little foliage pieces. I have basically two wreaths behind in the background. I have one kind of in the top left and one in the bottom right corner, and then just going to layer those pieces. I have some in front of the wreath, I have some of them kind of woven inside, tucked behind, and I'm just coming in with some Barely Arts glue here and adding just a drop of it to hold everything together. And then once everything is kind of stuck together, I'll glue it down as one big piece. I did want to kind of keep this so that I wasn't covering up the words, so I made sure to not press down where I had put glue over there on that left side, and that part is basically kind of sticking up, which I actually like the dimension of that as well. But that way I can still kind of lift that up and read the words if I want to. And then I'm just going to glue it down this section down here at the bottom, which says sure and steadfast. And same Barely Arts glue here for that. I did add a couple of those little pieces of foliage down there at the bottom as well. And I didn't stamp the date for this page. I will do that after the fact. I'm really bad about remembering to stamp the dates for some reason, but I just felt like there needed to be just a few more little pieces, and I had cut a bunch of them, so I added it down at the bottom left. And that's it for me. So if you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. All my links are going to be down in the description, including my affiliate link for Creative Worship Stamps and my website. I'd love to have you join my Facebook group. If you have any questions, leave those down below, and until next time, bye.